hat es noch in der Tasche, das Monocle. Begrüßen Sie jetzt Tyler Brulé, den Gründer und Herausgeber von Monocle.
Guten Tag, meine Damen und Herren. We're just going to get set up here very quickly, and hopefully hopefully we've got power and everything. I've actually been busy in the back. I just flew in from London, and I decided that anyone whose magazine's not doing very well should perhaps look at launching a website called hamburglandings.com. Because things have not improved since Saturday, I can tell you that much. Anyway, thank you, sorry. First, it's been interesting being invited into this forum because just in terms of, from a timing perspective, it's quite interesting. I'll share a couple of secrets as we go along, but one of the first headlines is, I really wish that all markets for the magazine could actually be as strong as Germany. And I'm not quite sure why it's happened and why we've got this extraordinary sell-through in this country, but consistently, both in newsstand but also subscriptions, Germany is our third strongest market in the world. So in sheer numbers it makes sense, but obviously one would consider from an English language perspective, that it might be my home country of Canada, or it should be Australia that should be picking up the second or third places. But it's quite remarkable that it's been this country. Last week, we celebrated our first birthday and had a very small party in London, and I'm sorry that you couldn't be there. But to perhaps just do a bit of an abridged version, we made a very short, small film. I think it's about 2.5, 3 minutes. So if the gentleman in the back could perhaps hit the DVD, and it's just an overview of what we've done over the last year, and perhaps explains in part why we've done what we've done. So if we could please play the tape, that would be great. Our idea is a simple one. We believe that a more mobile society, an erosion of quality media, less international coverage, layoffs and downsizing at traditional news outlets, a lack of print innovation, and less international coverage has created not only a new market of readers, viewers, and listeners keen on a more complete international take on the world, but also the opportunity for a new media brand. In 2004, we spotted a gap for a sharp, opinionated briefing on global affairs, business, culture, and design. We dubbed our new venture Monocle, and in February 2007, the first issue of the magazine started rolling off the presses and went online. Monocle's not like other media brands. In print, its format is bookish, tactile, and highly portable. The range of subjects the title covers is broad, but our focus always reflects that we're speaking to an informed, demanding consumer. To deliver our range of stories, we operate from our London base and also have dedicated bureaus in Zurich, Tokyo, and New York. Additionally, we have correspondents dotted around the globe. This year, we've reported from over 105 countries. Every word that hits the page is our own. The same goes for 99% of the images. We've reported on the drug routes of Tajikistan, the ongoing decline of Zimbabwe, the heroin palaces of Herat, and the revival of Murmansk. Monocle.com is more of a broadcast venture than a place filled with dense screens of text. Print should do what it still does best, and the web should enhance, supplement, and do things magazines aren't built for. Over the past year, we've covered the slow train east from Istanbul to Van, a high-voltage motor show in Frankfurt, a cozier version of Davos in the middle of Sweden, a rock festival with a difference in Japan, a new culinary phenomenon gaining momentum in Denmark, and launched bespoke films for an advertising client on Sao Paulo and Guangzhou. Monocle has broken established business models by offering a single, premium price subscription
and developed a subscriber base of over 6,000 readers in some 80 countries. At the same time, we've built a strong newsstand presence in these top 10 markets. We've also used our manga and edit section to launch fresh commercial tie-ups with brands including HSBC, Cartier, American Express, and Toto. On the merchandise side, our collection of bags and our new fragrance venture with Comme des Garçons has become a whole new business unit we never even anticipated. During Tokyo Design Week, we launched our first pop-up cafe venture, and looking ahead, we're keen on a more permanent presence in key markets. On the news gathering side, this means more dedicated bureaus and correspondents, on newsstands more special editions, and our own bespoke kiosks, and online special programs and a commitment to delivering arresting films from around the world.
That's a brief overview of what we've done, but I thought because we're talking to a more specialized audience here, we'd go into a couple of other details which I think might be of appeal. I think in the program you see that there's, I'm supposed to be talking about niches and why niches are global and why there's a niche global audience to talk to. I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm actually going to talk about a more mobile society, and in part that's why we actually developed this brand. Spending time in Switzerland and Germany and of course our home market, the UK and France and everywhere. About 2.5 years ago I was just astounded to see that you have the rise of Air Berlin and a more aggressive British Airways and a more aggressive Lufthansa, etc. More people are flying around the world than ever before. We have this place called Europe, but it amazes me when I watch News 24, which is the BBC's 24-hour domestic news channel. It almost makes the assumption every day that despite this great big completely incompetent thing called Heathrow Airport, that tens of thousands of people don't get on a plane and fly around the world or even across the channel. So when you watch the weather on the BBC in the morning, the actual forecast ends in Aberdeen and Dover. There's nothing actually east of the channel. But ARD, ZDF, RTL are no better. If you watch any of those morning bulletins or any evening bulletins, there's no consideration of a place called Austria or Switzerland or the Netherlands. The weather just exists in Germany. And it struck me that, well, there are a lot of people getting on planes every day and getting on trains and have to conduct businesses in other places. But there's a complete gap in terms of immediate opportunity. The other thing is I, of course, spent a lot of time in airports. And one thing that we didn't go into in the film was I spent a lot of time just watching what people were buying. And I would see the well-turned-out woman picking up a copy of The Economist, and then she would go and buy a little treat for herself, and she'd buy Grazia or she would buy British Vogue. And I'd watch the gentleman who maybe works for Goldman Sachs or Deutsche Bank at City Airport or Heathrow, and he would go and pick up a copy of Business Week or The Economist, and maybe might buy Wallpaper, though 2 years ago I'd put him off that idea completely. Or he would pick up something like GQ, or even World of Interiors. And it struck me that in our media consuming habits, we want to, and at a certain level when we're talking about the marketplace, I think we want to challenge ourselves, we want to enrich ourselves in some way, but on the flip side, I think we also want this treat and reward. And that was part of the foundation that we started looking at when we built the magazine. I just want to share some facts with you. And these really underpin how we approach our brand across the board. The first thing is we didn't do any research. Aside from standing behind the pillars at newsstands and watching what people were buying, that was the extent of it, but we didn't hire any research companies. Nor do we work with any focus groups when we develop this idea. I think that should be the role of good editors. Good editors should be able to read the room. I don't think you need to invite a bunch of men or women into a room and give them bad coffee from Chibo. I hope Chibo's not one of the sponsors. No, they're not. Just bad coffee anyway. And some biscuits, and then give them 50 euros and ask their opinion about a cover. If people on the editorial floor don't know how to read that, then there's a big problem and you've got the wrong people on the editorial floor. So we're no believer in focus groups.